Hi and welcome to the Blue Room Live blog. This is a forum where 25 Perth artists have their say on live arts and theatre in Perth. Tonight's blogger is Teresa Izzard.
Hello everybody, thanks for being here. My name is Teresa and I've been living and working in Perth since 1997. Just a little bit of background about me. Although I was born in New Zealand, hence my ability to live here in Australia, I was brought up and educated mainly in the UK, London. I had lots of great formative experiences there, directing several shows, a member of the Young Vic Youth Theatre, which is actually where I did my first show, and training in one of the first university-offered directing courses in the country. However, 18 months after graduating, I'd spent a year working two full-time jobs, a receptionist in a computer company and the artistic director of a theatre company. A year seemed a very long time back then. I decided to take a break because after that entire year I'd earned £50 for my theatre work. I thought there must be something better out there and jumped on a plane and went to see the world. So I am one of the people that come to Perth, and I stayed. A refugee from the London Fringe, I found the Blue Room a welcome opportunity, and within a few months of landing I had mounted a production. I was also pretty industrious back then. For the next 12 years I have basically lived and worked in Perth and combined working as a theatre director with teaching and studying. Perth has become my home base. I describe myself as a theatre maker, a theatre director and a movement educator. As a theatre maker, I am interested in making theatre that I myself want to see. I want to make theatre that wakes people up and offers a dish of imaginative delights, that enlivens them, that penetrates the soul via the senses, that is visceral and anatomical. Theatre that is delicious, yet does not avoid the shadows. I'm also a movement educator. I find the territory of the body fascinating. There are more secrets inside the body than in the whole world. So I seek to combine these two passions in my life as an independent artist in Perth. Now you know a little bit about me. I'm going to talk a little bit about how I have survived as an independent artist in Perth, the most isolated city in the world. One of the first things I've done is had to balance pragmatism and idealism. I used to be a massive idealist, but nowadays I find myself more of a pragmatist, and a process of what I've called redefining success. In order to stay working as an artist, I've also become a teacher and an artist in residence in educational institutions. I created many original works with students in schools and universities, and one year even took on the job of Director of Productions at St Hilda's. I have just embarked on a Doctorate of Creative Arts through Curtin University, and now I have 3 whole years of time and opportunity to spend re-evaluating and exploring my practice. And I'm excited to find out what I will do in those 3 years. These pragmatic strategies have helped me find balance so that I can do what I love and continue to survive. The second thing I want to talk about is strategies to overcome isolation. So travel was one of them, and watching theatre around the world. I used to return to the UK every year, and whenever I would travel there or elsewhere I would make it my business to watch theatre. In an earlier blog, Tim Watts echoed my experience, that there is lots of work out there that's disappointing, and the occasional piece that you feel so inspired by, yet that they are all worth watching for having had that experience. Sometimes, for example, I'd lived in England for so many years, yet I'd never seen Complicité. I'd even worked in a theatre where Complicité was performing, but I'd never seen them. So there I was, years later, queuing up, desperately trying to come and see Complicité. And I did. I've ticked lots of boxes. The best thing I've ever seen so far was Anna Bogart's Macbeth in New York. That was pretty amazing. For lots of years I'd been searching for a director who could really blow me out of the water, and she managed to do it. So I also have a commitment to training, and that commitment to training has been essential to my commitment to make work and also to continue to work as a teacher from a place of inspiration. So I've travelled to Melbourne, to London, to Barcelona, and most recently to the States to maintain my training. In 2006, I was accepted into the Laban Institute in New York. So I actually went to New York for a year and studied there and became a certified movement analyst. I got to do workshops with Bonnie Bainbridge-Cohen and Irene Dowd, who are both basically movement practitioners who have been very inspiring for me. And I've come back to Perth from there and have basically been kind of bringing together that movement work with my theatre work here in Perth. A few months ago I actually got an arts flight grant from DCA to go back to New York, and I went back to New York to talk about a performance I'd done here in Perth, doing exactly that, merging my theatre work and the work that I'd done in New York. The production was the Threepenny Opera by Hayman Theatre, and I basically went over there to give a paper on my work as a movement director on that production, and to take part in a one-day workshop with lots of very interesting people who are working with Laban and theatre, including a woman who's just brought out a book, and I've forgotten her name, Barbara Adrian, who's just brought out a book on Laban and actor training. Another thing that happened while I was over there was I cheekily sent out an email to Anne Bogart, and actually ended up being able to go and audit her classes at Columbia University. So I pretended to be a Master of Fine Arts directing student for about 2 or 3 weeks and trotted off to class with Anne Bogart and kind of sat there watching what was going on and absorbed it all. So, and one thing which was really cool was even Anne Bogart teaches. So, you know, it's showing me that my pragmatic choices to maintain doing what I want to love is not just about me, it's actually just about the world, you know, the way the world works. So some final thoughts, Perth in the future. In my research for this blog, a couple of things struck me. One thing was how many brave, committed and courageous artists we have out here in Perth, and it inspires me to keep making work. I particularly reference Sophia Hall. It also inspires me to keep making the type of work that I mentioned at the beginning. Work to be prepared to celebrate Perth as a place where groundbreaking work can happen, and that it can be a place of inspiration. A place where exciting work is also celebrated and funded. A symbiotic relationship which I think is absolutely essential for the future of Perth. And the recent funding initiatives give me heart in this regard. The second thing is that my pragmatic choice has made an impact. I was a little bit proud that some of my ex-students were part of the 25 people who were chosen to do this blog. And in the time I've been in Perth, I think I've seen the culture shifting. There are more courses now that encourage young artists to grow and refine their craft. And that bodes well for the future of Perth Theatre. And I think that's particularly seen in the quality of the work here at the Blue Room. So tomorrow is the last blog, and Dawn will probably talk a little bit more about Magdalena Perth then. But Magdalena Perth is an example of an initiative, that I also see as important for the future here in Perth. For years, as I've explained, I've looked mainly outside Perth for my training opportunities. Last year, Dawn and Margaret Cameron offered a workshop on making solo performance here. It was disappointing that so few people took it up. There was only 4 of us. But it was really fantastic and important that it happened here in Perth. Magdalena Perth, which Dawn will talk about tomorrow, will also attempt to deal a little bit with this lack of training opportunities here. So by all means, travel and see the world. See theatre everywhere. See everything everywhere. But bring it back here. The way of the future is to water our own garden, to believe the work we make here can be world class. So let's keep making it. Thanks to Jancis and the Blue Room crew, always an inspiration.
Thanks, Teresa.